this time I'd like to call our special village board meeting to order. Let the record reflect that it's Tuesday, October 15th. It's approximately 7:50 p.m. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And for the record, it's closer to 7:55, so my apologies on that. Madam Deputy Clerk, please call roll.
Trustee Berg.
Here.
Trustee Brady.
Here.
Trustee Brennan.
Present.
Trustee Galante. Here. Trustee Glatz.
Present.
Trustee Mueller.
Here.
President Vandenberg.
Here, thank you. Item number 1, at this time, I'd ask for a motion to consider approval of the agenda. Is there such a motion?
So moved.
Properly moved by Trustee Brennan, seconded by Trustee Glatz. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion will carry. Thank you. Item number 2, at this time, I'd ask for a motion to consider approval of the minutes of the regular village board meeting held on October 1, 2019, and the minutes of the special village board meeting that was held on October 8, 2019.
So moved.
It's been properly moved by Trustee
Second.
Glatz and seconded by Trustee Berg. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Point of order, Mr. Mayor. Your ordinance provides that anything up for final adoption except agenda items, the public can address. I'd like to address the minutes, the adoption of the minutes.
Counselor?
Sure.
Does that all fall in the purviews of the?
Absolutely. I'd note that the public comment rules are still in effect during this portion as well.
All right, before making my comments then, I will point the board to your ordinance 43.01 policy. It shall be the policy of the Village of Tinley Park that any person shall be allowed to address public officials at any, highlighted, any board meeting, commission meeting, etc., and then the comment about anything that's up for adoption. I see no rules specifically made for special board meetings or anything like that. With regard to the minutes, members of the board, if you look at the minutes that's presented for you to vote on for approval, these are the October 1, 2019 minutes for agenda items 6, 7, and 8. They're all boilerplate. Every single one of them says, with regard to items 6, 7, and 8, President Vandenberg stated that this item was in its final adoption stage and asked if anyone cared to address the board. No one came forward. If you review the actual video of what went on at that meeting with regard to agenda item 6, at 7:05 of the video, Trustee Mueller said, "This resolution is eligible for adoption." There's a little bit of a pause. At 7:09, Mayor Vandenberg said, "Thank you, Trustee Mueller. Any comments or questions from the board?" The mayor then appears to look to his left and right on the dais. 7:15, Mayor Vandenberg then announces, "Let the record reflect there is none." Please call the roll. Item 7, at 8:20 of the video, Trustee Mueller said, "This ordinance is eligible for adoption." At 8:23, Mayor Vandenberg says, "Thank you, Trustee Mueller. Is there any comments from the board?" The mayor appears to look to the left of the dais, and at 8:28, Mayor Vandenberg announces, "There is none. Please call the roll." Agenda item 8, 9:55 on the video, Trustee Mueller says, "This ordinance is eligible for adoption." 9:57, Mayor Vandenberg says, "Thank you, Trustee Mueller. Is there any comments from the board?" Mayor Vandenberg appears to the left of the dais, and at 10 minutes into the video, Mayor Vandenberg announces, "Please call the roll." Mayor Vandenberg never asked for comments from the public, but your boilerplate minutes state that he did. Some problems are raised with this. These are the Lenny's annexation and the board approvals of all of the Lenny's items. First problem is, if you vote to approve these minutes, I submit to you, you are voting to approve incorrect minutes. Please go look at the video. The boilerplate of the clerk's office or whoever preparing these minutes is incorrect. I noted before, when I was up here at one meeting, you violate your own ordinance. I have to walk up here at agenda item number 2, because whether it's the mayor or the mayor pro tem, you do not ask the public if they have any comments in violation of your own ordinance. And the biggest concern is the problem with not following your own rules. A board did that when they amended the text of the legacy code. The board ultimately acknowledged that they made a mistake, that the amendments were incorrect. They rescinded them, and it cost the village about $6 or $7 million to take care of all the problems. So I ask you, board members, review the minutes of what went on, or review what went on before you approve these minutes. You don't follow your own ordinances. When you violate your procedures, you put the taxpayers of this village at risk. Please be cautious in your vote. Thank you.
Counselor, did you want to add anything to the?
I would. That is what the ordinance does say. I would disagree with Mr. Eberhart that the ordinance was violated. Nobody was denied an opportunity to speak. I don't recall, looking at that video, anybody coming up. I know in the past, certainly times, the roll's been taken and somebody wanted to come up, they've been allowed to speak. If you read the text of the ordinance, it does say that people will be allowed to address the board. I certainly didn't tell anyone they couldn't address the board. I don't recall anybody on this board addressing the board. As to the minutes, those are, it's a summary of what happened in the meeting. Those are what minutes are. That's what's required by the Open Meetings Act. So if Mr. Everhart's claim is that, the rules need to be more specific and people need to be asked, that's one thing. But nobody was denied an opportunity to address this board, certainly on the Lenny's items, as if you recall, prior to, we had public hearing, plan commission meetings on it, but as far as the rules of your public comments, nobody was denied an opportunity that I saw.
Thank you, Counselor. So, item 2, it's been moved by trustee Glatz and it was seconded by trustee Berger. Are there any amendments to the minutes that was proposed by a resident?
No, I just want to say the clerk's office does a great job with the minutes.
Duly noted. At this point, we'll, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Item 2 will carry. Thank you. Item number 3, at this time, I'd call on trustee Mueller to read on behalf of Clerk Therian.
I move we consider the appointment of Diane, I'm going to get this one a little, Helsch Malone, pardon me? Holch Malone, to the position of Administrative Assistant to the Clerk's Office, effective October 21st, 2019.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you.
This position was advertised internally and externally, and the village received over 100 applicants. After shortlisting the candidates, interviews, testing, and assessments were conducted. Diane was identified as the most qualified candidate with over 20 years of professional experience in working in office administration as a support analyst. She is a graduate of Victor J. Andrew High School and attended both Moraine Valley and Prairie State Community Colleges. Please consider appointing Diane Malone to the position of Administrative Assistant in the Clerk's Office effective October 21st, 2019.
Thank you, trustee Mueller. Is Diane here?
No.
No, not here? All right. Any comments or questions from the board for this request for the appointment? Well, if the record reflect there's none, we're going to call the roll on this, please.
Trustee Berg?
Yes.
Trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Brennan?
Yes.
Trustee Galante?
Yes.
Trustee Glatz?
Yes.
Trustee Mueller?
Yes.
The motion carries. Thank you. Item 4, this time I'd ask for motion to consider approval of the following consent agenda items. Is there such a motion?
So moved.
It's been properly moved and seconded. Madam Clerk, can you read these into the record, please?
Consider request from the Illinois Arborists Association to conduct a raffle on November 5th, 2019 at the Tinley Park Convention Center. Consider payment of outstanding bills in the amount of $2,503,046.71 as listed on the vendor board approval report dated October 4th and October 11th, 2019.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Does any board member care to remove any of these items? Let the record reflect there is none. Please call the roll.
Trustee Burke.
Yes.
Trustee Brady.
Yes.
Trustee Brennan.
Yes.
Trustee Galante.
Yes.
Trustee Glatz.
Yes.
Trustee Mueller.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you. Item 5, Trustee Mueller.
I move we consider adopting Resolution 2019-R-108, authorizing the village attorney to apply to the Circuit Court of Cook County for an order authorizing the demolition or repair of a dangerous or abandoned building located at 6627 West 173rd Place, Tinley Park, Illinois, 60477.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you.
The property located at 6627 West 173rd Place has been an attractive nuisance since October 15th, 2015, and it is having a negative effect on the community. The owner has not placed the building in a safe state, is unable to do so, and the property is currently unable to be occupied. Staff is looking for an adoption of this resolution to authorize the village attorney to apply to the Circuit Court of Cook County for an order authorizing the demolition or repair of a dangerous or abandoned building or structure. This resolution is eligible for adoption.
Thank you, Mike. Any comments from the board? Again, this is eligible for adoption this evening. Any comments from the public? Let the record reflect there's none. Please call the roll.
Trustee Burke.
Yes.
Trustee Brady.
Yes.
Trustee Brennan.
Yes.
Trustee Galante.
Yes.
Trustee Glatz.
Yes.
Trustee Mueller.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you. Item 6, Trustee Glatz.
I'd like to make a motion to consider adopting Resolution 2019-R-106, approving a contract between the Village of Tinley Park and Morton Salt of Oak Park, or Oak Brook, Illinois, for bulk road salt for fiscal year 2020.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you.
The proposed contract is for the village's annual purchase of bulk salt. The village received 3 quotes from qualified vendors. Morton Salt, $87.36 per ton, Midwest Salt, $94.24 per ton, and Chicago Salt was $101 even. This item was discussed at the October 8, 2019 Public Works Committee and recommended for approval. Consider final authorization of contract with Morton Salt of Oak Brook, Illinois for bulk road salt in the amount of $87.36 per ton. This resolution is eligible for adoption.
Thank you, Trustee Glatz. Madam Clerk, make sure you include all 3 quotes into the minutes, please. Any comments or questions from the board? This is up for adoption and expenditure of funds. Any comments from the public? Let the record reflect there's none. Please call the roll.
Trustee Burke.
Yes.
Trustee Brady.
Yes.
Trustee Brennan.
Yes.
Trustee Galante.
Yes.
Trustee Glatz.
Yes?
Trustee Mueller.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you. Item 7, Trustee Glatz.
I would like to make a motion, consider adopting resolution 2019-R-109, approving a contract between the Village of Tinley Park and F.H. Passion for the 80th Avenue train station staircases, railings, paver replacement, and repair project.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bill. Shortly after the original opening of the 80th Avenue train station in 2012, Public Works Department identified railings in the area that were lifting from the concrete and damaging the surrounding staircases and curbing. As time has progressed, additional heaving of railings, separation of stair nosing, and freeze-thaw destruction of the concrete in the area continued. The village board approved Public Works to start repairing the staircases and railings last year in 2018. This request for completion of the entire replacement project, based on previous discussions with the village attorney and staff members, it was recommended to complete all the remaining damaged areas at once in lieu of partially completing phases over the next few years. Please reference the following breakdown of all the items to be replaced that are on the agenda and on the village website. The funding is budgeted and available in the approved fiscal 20 budget municipal buildings fund. Consider awarding a contract to F.H. Passion in the amount of $1 million to $184.84. This item was discussed at the Public Works Committee meeting held on October 8, 2019, and recommended for approval. This resolution is eligible for adoption.
Thank you, Trustee Glatz. Is there any comments or questions from the board?
Okay,
Just-
John, is there anything you'd like to add to this?
No, as we mentioned at the committee meeting, it's currently trying to repair everything in its entirety, and we're dealing with legal ramifications with the original architect and contractors surety bond.
Trustee Brady and then trustee Brennan, I think you will.
Just that this is a safety issue, and at the meeting that we just referred to, we decided that should be priority one, is the safety of our residents using our train station.
Trustee Brennan?
I would just like to see if Pat wanted to touch on that to see, because you did say there would be some legal ramifications from.
Sure, we've been in constant communication with those responsible for designing, constructing these areas of the train station. We're hopeful a resolution would come. It has not yet. Obviously, as you've all pointed out, it's now becoming a safety issue. It needs to get fixed. These costs in fixing it, will be a part of our conversations going forward and potential litigation if need be.
Thank you.
I'll just say, I've used this facility every day since it opened up in 2012. This is long overdue. This has been a problem since it started. This has got to be fixed.
Anything else from the board over here? John, how many years have we been working on trying to rectify this?
The first sign of the issue was the winter after 12, and we
So-
still had contact with the architect and, the, again, bond agency. We've been going back and forth, obviously, for much longer time than I'd like to admit, but again, it was, our original intent to see reimbursement from their end. And, again, we've come to the point where we're gonna, obviously see for the funding on our source and look for reimbursement, because again, $1 million here on this contract can be well outweighed with a safety issue with someone getting hurt out there.
Very good.
Thanks, John and Kevin.
We've had comments from the board or any comments from the public. Again, we have a final adoption as well as an expenditure of funds.
Just last comment, will this be done this winter? Was this thing we work on it now, John?
It is our intent to get a couple of the perimeter staircases, in the list you have here. There's some of the outlying staircases that we're going to be looking to replace in its entirety. As you can see in the math, that we are over our original budget, so we will be requesting the remaining funds in upcoming fiscal year, and then continue the project once spring hits. Because I, obviously prefer not to be pouring concrete in the middle of the winter.
Right.
So, board comments, there's no comments from the public. We'll call the roll, please.
Trustee Berg.
Yes.
Trustee Brady.
Yes.
Trustee Brennan.
Yes.
Trustee Galante.
Yes.
Trustee Glatz.
Yes?
Trustee Mueller.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you. Item 8, trustee Brennan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to make a motion to consider adopting Resolution 2019-R-110, approving a contract between the Village of Tinley Park and Minuteman Security Technologies for automatic license plate readers.
Second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Thank you.
Trustee Glatz. During the RFP process, Assistant Village Manager Patrick Carr identified a grant opportunity with the Department of Homeland Security. The application awarded the village a grant for initial intersections and a reimbursable amount of $223,000. Funds are budgeted and available in the fiscal year 20 capital fund. The budget amount was $453,182. Contract amount is $242,559.25. The grant reimbursement is $223,000. This is $433,622.75 under budget. Consider awarding a contract to Minuteman Security Technologies in the amount of $242,559.25. This item was discussed at the Public Safety Committee meeting on October 8th, 2019, and recommended for approval. This resolution is eligible for adoption.
Thank you. Any comments from the board?
Good work, Pat.
Nice job, Pat.
Good job, Pat. I don't know if this is from being the EMA director, but thanks for your work on this.
Were there proposals put in for this, or was only one contract?
No, there was an RFP that was done.
And there was
three
multiple?
people- Yeah, there was 3 people that put in for it.
It's actually a local company, too.
Were they the lowest responsible, or?
Yes. Well, John, you want to answer the?
So we had 3 submitters. After interviewing, or putting out for all 3 to be interviewed, One of the potential vendors was unable to meet for an interview, so they were obviously removed from the process. And we had two remaining bidders, one of them being Minuteman, which is actually a Tinley Park company. And their cost for the project overall was much less than their competitor.
And then were they given a percentage off because they're a Tinley Park vendor? Is that what brought them underneath? I'm being serious.
Just underneath, no.
And was it an
no,
RFQ
no,
or
it
RFP?
It definitely was not a percent. It wasn't just a percentage base because of our local vendor preference. That they were much lower than the other vendor. The only reason the other vendor was considered was because of the software they were providing initially. And once we were able to confirm that the local vendor could meet the software needs of our police department, it, like I said, took the competitive vendor completely out of the process because, again, they were looking at probably a 50% in cost decrease than what we were seeing from the other contractor.
And do they have a service contract then as well? So they're gonna do the installation and the service?
Yes.
Is that for an annual? Or is that,
The current contract in front of you right now is for the installation and the first year warranty maintenance, but we would be looking to file probably
following year would be a
subsequent
service
maintenance.
contract?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments from the board? Any comments from the public regarding this item? Nope. Please call the roll.
Trustee Berg.
Yes.
Trustee Brady.
Yes.
Trustee Brennan.
Yes.
Trustee Galante.
Yes.
Trustee Glatz.
Yes.
Trustee Mueller.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you. Item number 9, Trustee Brady.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion considering adopting Resolution 2019 R-111, authorizing the renewal of liability insurance coverages for December 1st, 2019 to November 30th, 2020 with the Illinois Counties Risk Management Trust.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you.
The discussion is that the village's current insurance policy with the Illinois Counties Risk Management Trust will expire December 1st, 2019. Therefore, the village's insurance broker, Alliant Misero, has submitted an updated application to the ICRMT for renewal pricing. The village's annualization premium for the 2019 year was $745,654. This figure covers general liability, automobile liability, law enforcement liability, public officials liability, property, workers' compensation, cyber and crime. Currently, deductibles or self-insured retention limits under the ICRMT vary between $100,000 and $150,000 depending upon the type of liability insurance, while the workers' compensation deductible is $300,000. Maintaining the current deductibles, the renewal premium for 2020 policy year is quoted at $769,624. Overall, the village has had good claims this year in terms of keeping costs to a minimum, which has contributed to keeping the premium similar to the previous year. This item was discussed at the Committee of the Whole on October 15, 2019, prior to this meeting. This resolution is eligible for adoption.
Thank you, Trustee Brady. Any comments or questions from the board? Any comments or questions from the public regarding this item? Let the record reflect there's none. Please call the roll.
Trustee Berg.
Yes.
Trustee Brady.
Yes.
Trustee Brennan.
Yes.
Trustee Galante.
Yes.
Trustee Glatz. Trustee Mueller.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you. Item 10, this time I'd ask for a motion to consider adopting ordinance number 2019-0-062, amending Title 6, Chapter 112, Section 112.22 of the Tinley Park Municipal Code, addition of one Class EV liquor video license for Happy Bites at 8021 183rd Street, Unit E. Is there a motion?
So moved.
It's been properly
Second.
moved by Trustee Brennan and seconded by Trustee Mueller. Thank you. The proposed ordinance would increase the Class EV liquor video license by one. The applicant, Happy Bites, is opening a full-service restaurant bar at 8021 183rd Street, Unit E. Video gaming will be permitted at this location. Upon approval of the ordinance, the total number of Class EV liquor licenses would be 10. This ordinance is eligible for adoption, and I would just note that this has been discussed and vetted thoroughly amongst the committee of the whole. I appreciate your consideration this evening. It's been moved and seconded. This will be a roll, right? Any comments from the board? Any comments from the public? Our petitioner's here. Is there anything you'd like to add to the record? I know you've spoken numerous times.
If any no question.
Thank you very much. This time we'll call the roll, please.
Trustee Berg.
Yes.
Trustee Brady.
Yes.
Trustee Brennan.
Yes.
Trustee Galante.
Yes.
Trustee Glocks.
Yes.
Trustee Mueller.
Yes.
Motion carried. Thank you very much. Item 11, this time I'd ask for motion to consider adopting ordinance 2019-063 of Chapter 112, Section 112.22 of the Tinley Park Municipal Code, addition of one Class AV liquor video license for Island Bistro located at 7020 183rd Street. Is there a motion?
I'll move it.
It's been properly moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. I'm sorry, who moved the first?
I did.
Thank you. Trustee Mueller and Trustee Brady. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Again, the proposed ordinance would increase the Class AV liquor video license by one. The applicant, Island Bistro, is opening a full-service restaurant and bar at 7020 183rd Street. Under this license, video gaming would be permitted at this location. Upon approval of this ordinance, the total number of Class AV liquor licenses would be 15. Again, this ordinance is eligible for adoption, and once again, this was discussed in a committee meeting and then a committee of the whole meeting. And my understanding is that you were provided some updated information from the committee meeting to the committee of the whole meeting, and I assume that there was deliberation at the committee of the whole meeting. So I would open it up to the floor if there's any questions from the board. Gladly take those, as well as for our petitioner.
The only problem I have with it is it seems like I got different answers every time I requested in regards to the taxes. That was the only concern I had, something just, last meeting, I believe it was stated that the taxes was a pass-through and the other tenants were being charged. And then I believe they just said that now that they haven't passed it on to them. And then they said, I thought I mentioned a couple other tenants were going to pay it or are going to pay it or, wouldn't pay it. That was very confusing for me. That was the only thing I had about it.
Petitioners are here. Would you like to step forward and respond to the question from the dais?
Sure, thank you. To clarify the statement from last week, we stated that the tax increased on the center over the past few years since we've owned it. And the taxes are a pass-through to the tenants, which means that they're on a net lease. And any amount that is increased by the county is passed along to that individual tenant. What I stated in the earlier meeting was that the new tax bill, which is $246,000, which is an increase from our prior tax bill, which was $191,000, we have not charged the tenants the increase as of yet because we lost tenants when we sent out a notice that the rents would be increasing. We lost 2 tenants almost immediately. And so my wife and I decided that we would carry the $50,000 on our own instead of charging it to the tenants because we were afraid that we would lose more tenants. And so that was the point of the statement. All taxes are passed through to the tenant, but unfortunately, the new assessment with the additional 50 some odd thousand, we have not passed that through. We've been paying it out of our pocket.
So if it wasn't passed through to them, did they give you a reason why those other tenants left?
Did who give us a reason? I'm sorry.
The 3, the one was a
store.
dance studio.
Pizza place.
I think your wife said,
Yeah,
the Riches, and then the third one, I don't remember, the liquor store?
Liquor store.
Heart and Soul. Heart and Soul left because they could not pay the additional tax. They had not been able to pay the original tax, and so their lease was modified in order to assist them with making payments. Their payment should have been around $5,600 a month. Because the young lady who owned the studio stated that she was having a difficulty, the prior owner modified the lease, and she was only paying $3,800 a month. When we took over the center and the taxes increased, we sent a letter telling her that the lease would resume at what the original charges were, and she said she couldn't pay it. And so we continued to allow her to pay the modified amount of the $3,000 some odd dollars. When we got the notice of the tax bill increase for 2018 taxes, we sent that around to all the tenants. And we told her that we did not have a choice at this point but to raise her rent because the taxes had increased. And so that's when she gave us notice that she would be leaving. In terms of the Tinley Park Liquor Store, they fell behind on their taxes, I want to say, November of 2017. It took us 8 months to have them removed from the property. And once they were removed, they moved directly across the street because the taxes on that center are a little bit lower than ours. In terms of Rich's Pizza, they had a number of problems, not just the taxes, but they weren't able to pay as well. And so when we had those 3 tenants exit all within a year, we made a decision that if we put that tax increase on the other tenants, we would probably have the same problem. So right now, the tenants are paying the $191,000 prorated share of the tax bill, and they're not paying the $246,000 prorated share of the tax bill. My wife and I have been carrying the difference over the past several months.
Are each one of those units a different PIN? Tax bill?
No, it's one PIN.
It's one PIN.
Yes. One PIN with 10 individuals.
Presumably how many years have you owned the center?
We purchased it in July of 2016.
And you petitioned the taxes, I would presume, right?
Oh, we have Attorney Sandrick who's fighting the tax appeal as of now, but we have not had any results yet.
Is this the first year you appealable?
They were appealed last year as well, and I think that the amount that it was decreased by was not very much at all.
Any other questions from the board for the petitioner?
Just, I think you're a very understanding and generous landlord.
Well, it's not understanding and generous. What it is that, from a business perspective, if we pass that tax along to those other tenants and they decide to leave, now I'm carrying a much higher
Right.
amount.
That's why I say
out of pocket.
understanding.
So I don't really have a choice, at this particular point. We've been watching all of the news and everything, hoping that something happens. But from our understanding, commercial tenants are taking a much higher bear on taxes than residential tenants at this particular point. But, businesses, they can't survive, if in fact, they're paying the taxes, which is more than what their actual rent is, So our thought was, by putting together this restaurant, we would drive other revenues, which we're not looking to, we're looking to make a profit, but we're more so looking to save the center and avoiding going into foreclosure. So that's the purpose of putting the restaurant together.
Can you do it without the gaming?
I'm sorry?
Would you still do this without the gaming?
I mean, we would probably still do the bar without the gaming, yes. The only reason that we petitioned for the gaming was because we looked at the numbers from Rich's Pizza, which was the prior owner, and they made about $15,000 a month off the gaming. So $15,000 a month is a huge amount that could actually be contributed towards our tax bill. Without that $15,000 a month, I'm not sure what revenue will be driven from the actual sales of food and the sale of liquor, but especially in the first year, because you have to advertise and get people acquainted with the place. But again, our goal is just to get the place open and drive some revenue in so that we can save the building, because I don't want it to go in foreclosure. I don't want to lose it, and have a much bigger problem on my hands at that point. So.
Anything else from the petitioner? No? Thank
I'll
you very
step
much.
back and let my wife
Appreciate it.
speak.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any comments from the public regarding item 11? Let the record reflect there's none. Please call the roll.
Trustee Berg.
Yes.
Trustee Brady.
Yes.
Trustee Brennan.
Yes.
Trustee Galante.
Yes.
Trustee Glatz.
No.
Trustee Mueller.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you. Item number 12, receive comments from the staff. Anything from staff this evening?
I have something.
Start with the clerk first, then we'll go down to the peanut gallery over
Oh,
here.
I'm
and talk
sorry,
to the chief.
Next year will be our decennial census count here in the United States, not just in Tinley Park. And in preparation for this count, the Village of Tinley Park has formed a complete count committee comprised of a cross-section of community members to utilize their knowledge and expertise to reach out to all persons in the community to get a complete count. With that said, the Village of Tinley Park will be hosting a U.S. Census representative here on Friday, October 25th. He'll be out here in our lobby from 2 to 4 p.m. He'll have information on recruitment for census jobs, and he'll be able to answer any questions citizens might have about the census. The Census Bureau is recruiting currently thousands of people across the country to assist with the 2020 census, so he'll have information on that. It's important to remember that the census data collected during the count helps determine how much federal and state funding is allocated to the communities, how many U.S. representative seats each state receives, and it's a vital tool for economic development. So come and visit our census rep on the 25th.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Clerk. Now to our fine fire chief.
Thank you, sir.
Administration.
Just real briefly, I'd like to thank everybody from the staff as well as the village who turned out to join us in our open house held on October 5th. One of the many highlights of the open house was the graduation of our inaugural Citizens Fire Academy. Unfortunately, due to a scheduling conflict, Trustee Brady wasn't able to attend the graduation, and I would like to take just a second to recognize Trustee Brady's attendance, perfect attendance in the academy, and award him his certificate and his helmet shield tonight, if I could, please.
Yeah.
Just real quick.
Chief, he was there.
I'm sorry?
He was there.
Well,
He has
well, and you know, as Trustee Glatz mentioned, we did have a stand-in for Trustee Brady, and I'm certainly not going to be able to live that one down or have that one forgotten for some time to come. So, Trustee Brady, read your certificate to you. And this is the Certificate of Achievement. Tinley Park Fire Department acknowledges that William P. Brady has successfully completed the 25-hour Citizens Fire Academy program and is a member of the inaugural Citizens Fire Academy class of 2019, awarded by me. And as we mentioned to the rest of the graduates, like a firefighter's badge, the helmet piece of a firefighter is something that is always earned and never given. And by his successful completion in the academy, participating in all the events and everything that we had scheduled, you certainly, like the rest of our academy members, have earned this helmet shield. So, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, appreciate that. And I also remind that we also had our step mentor, Lisa Valley was there in the class, and the clerk who's not here tonight, she was there at the class as well. But thank you very much.
Thank you.
Still should have brought us back there.
We'll move on to item 13. Thank you, Chief. Receive comments from the board.
Hi, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a couple comments. Just want to remind residents, trick-or-treating hours are 3:30 to 7 p.m. this year. And I'd also like to let everyone know that our very own fire chief has been nominated for the Moraine Valley Community College Hall of Fame as a 2020 candidate. So I want to wish him the best of luck on that and in the nominating process and as he finds out more. So congratulations, Chief.
Congrats.
That's great. Thank you. Anything else on the board?
Yes, sir.
Trustee Brady?
I'd like to remind everybody here and those that may view this meeting, coming up on Sunday, the 20th of October, at 10 o'clock Mass at St. Stephen's Catholic Church, Deacon and Martyr. They're having a first responders Mass, okay, for all of our first responders. And those first responders that show up will be treated to a breakfast at St. Stephen's as well. So that's 10 o'clock Mass, St. Stephen's, for our first responders Mass. And certainly what we went through, the chief just talked about the academy, they need all the blessings that they can get. And we want to take the time and moment to thank the good Lord for all of our first responders. So it's 10 o'clock Mass at St. Stephen's Catholic Church, October 20th, 10 o'clock Mass.
Thank you, Trustee Brady.
Just want to thank Pat Carr again for the grant and being for a veteran. I don't know if that helped with the Homeland Security, but thank you.
Anything else? I will mention one thing for the record. I was notified by a former employee today, Patrick Hoban, who was at an international conference for economic development, that Tinley Park was recognized this year for receiving their accreditation for the Economic Development Organization designation, which is something that we were working on previous to his leaving the village, but he wanted to share that note with us to congratulate the village on another successful year of having that accreditation. So to our economic development team and to our community development, thank you very much for your continued dedication to this village. Item 14, receive comments from the public. I should note, prior to your public comment, this is a special village board meeting, Mr. Eberhard. So the parameters are a little bit different than our standard meeting.
And I'm going to clarify. Meeting minutes of October 8th said that it was Mr. Conley who noted that the special meeting comments should be kept to the agenda topics. I'll again refer Mr. Conley and the board to ordinance number 43.01, policy. The Attorney General in the Open Meetings Act allows anybody comment, and now you're cutting it aside, anybody comment pursuant to the state statute when you establish and you publish rules. The established and published rules of the Village of Tinley Park are contained in 43.01. It shall be the policy of the Village of Tinley Park that any person shall be allowed to address public officials at any, and I highlight any, board, committee, or commission meeting, subject to the Illinois Open Meetings Act, during a designated public comment period, and the following rules shall apply. I see nothing in 43.01 that makes any provisions where a special board meeting is different than any board meeting. So for the record, Mr. Mayor, is it you or is it Mr. Conley who is not letting me comment on matters that I wish to comment on?
Mr. Everhart, first of all, as you note in the paragraph that you just read, it also says, subject to the Illinois Open Meetings Act. According to the Illinois Open Meetings Act, a special meeting, the board can only discuss items on the agenda. The policy behind that in the Open Meetings Act is pretty simple, okay? If you're here and you're going to talk about items not on the agenda, I can't even let this board respond to it. If you ask questions about it, I can't let them
Let me
do
stop
that.
you there.
No.
This is
You
not,
you
this
asked-
is
you asked a
not
question.
comment, this is not question and comment.
You asked the mayor the question,
Yeah.
and I'm responding to it, okay? So that's one of the things that this board cannot do. So that paragraph does say, subject to the Open Meetings Act. According to the Open Meetings Act, special meetings, again, whether I agree with that in the Open Meetings Act or not, that's what it says. The board is restricted to discussing items on the agenda. That's where that comes from.
2.06 of the Open Meetings Act says any person can address the elected officials subject to the rules established and published. You established and published these rules. With all due respect, I don't care that you cannot answer me. I'm not going to ask you any questions. I have a right under the Open Meetings Act to comment on any matter that I want to at any meeting. Is it your position or the mayor that I cannot?
Is it my position or the mayor's?
Well,
I
council-
just told you my position on it.
All right. It's both of you then. Thank you.
No,
That's
no.
all I need.
Well,
That's
that-
all I need.
that's not factually true, Mr.
It's
Everhart.
not factually true.
Who is preventing me from commenting
Nobody's preventing
on
you from
campaign
commenting on any, you
contributions?
keep coming up here and saying people are preventing you. No one's preventing you, Steve.
Okay.
So make your comments, you know? I've told you the law of the Open Meetings Act. That's what we're trying to follow.
Apparently, the official policy, based on the comments from the chairman of 1 Tinley Park, is that campaign contributions are legal and everybody does it. In response, I'd like to remind everyone that these elected officials promised to end pay-to-play, and it was Mr. Glotz
Yeah,
before.
Mr. Eberhard, it's been abundantly clear that the village council has made a recommendation
Said
to the
enough,
chair.
Mayor, thank you.
No.
Said enough, thank you.
Would you like a response?
No,
Let
that's
the
fine.
record-
He
let
can
the record
file an
reflect that
ARDC
Mr.
complaint against me, whatever it will be. Or we could, no, that's fine.
No, let the record reflect that Mr. Eberhard declined a response from the chair, and then we're going to proceed.
retract that, Mr. Mayor, go ahead. Let's
The village attorney has made a recommendation to the village chair, which is myself, who's presiding over this meeting, that special village board meeting in his legal profession, he has said that if you're going to direct anything to this board in public comment, that it be refrained around what is listed in the special village board meeting agenda. That is his interpretation of it. That is what I'm going to abide by. End of story.
And I'm pointing to section 2.06G of the Open
I will,
And I'll say, let me respond to that. And if that's your opinion, Ms. Robart, as I've done with you many times in the past, you know, if you have an interpretation of something, two reasonable minds can disagree on an interpretation of a statutory section. It happens hundreds of times a day between attorneys. You know, I am willing, and I've done it before, this village board has done it before, listen to residents. If the policy needs to be made better, okay? I'm not saying I have the perfect interpretation every time, but, you know, playing got you and doing this and walking away. If you have a difference on the policy being made clear, I will listen to that.
And with all due respect, the last time that I sent you an email asking you to point out a specific statutory provision, you didn't respond. I would be happy to sit down and discuss it with you if you will respond to emails.
thank you very much.
To the mayor's defense, we had another special meeting before where you said the same thing. There was a complaint filed with the Attorney General, and it came back that you were correct in your ruling.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
For the record, sorry, good evening. For the record, I am not a public figure. I'm a private resident in this town. And I would appreciate it if a public figure or anybody else came up here and attempts to attack a private resident.
This is not on the agenda.
Please sit down.
I would appreciate it if you would stop it. It's not fair. If you're a public official, that gives us our right
Special
to
village
address.
board meeting, we're gonna.
Got it.
Same rules
No,
apply.
I appreciate it. Nope, fine.
Anything else for the good of the order? Let the record reflect there's none. This time I'd ask for a motion to adjourn into executive session, discuss the following items. A, the purchase or lease of real property for the use of the public body, including meetings held for the purpose of discussing whether a particular parcel should be acquired. B, the setting of a price for sale or lease of property owned by the public body. And C, the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the public body, or a legal counsel for the employees of the public body, or a legal counsel for the public body, including hearing testimony on a complaint lodged against an employee of the public body or against legal counsel for the public body to determine its validity. Is there such a motion? So moved.
Second.
Happily moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned. Thank you.